I am curious, Julius Randle extension eligible. How do you think I think it always would have been a difficult negotiation. And as we were recording this, the Athletic reported that the Knicks aren't looking to trade Julius Randle for anyone
They're
who
not.
cares about that. How do you think Jalen Brunson? I know OG Anunoby did not take a pay cut, but when you have the best player in the organization making the concession that he did, does that impact how the Knicks like go about the Julius Randle extension? And then if you're Julius Randle sitting there, it's well, what's the case for you to argue that you should be paid substantially more than Jalen Brunson moving forward? It doesn't does the Jalen Brunson extension complicate the Julius Randle negotiations in any way?
I actually think it clarifies it a little bit because I think you could reasonably extend Randall this offseason, which the moratorium, the ability to extend him is on Saturday. I don't know when this is coming out, but August 3rd, my birthday, is the day that they can extend Julius Randle. They like it becomes very simple. Like we either extend you and you're on the team all of next year, or we don't extend you and you're a candidate for us to potentially trade you because we're not going to let you walk for nothing at the end of next year. So I know what Fred's reporting has been, and I have no reason to doubt what the Athletic is saying about not looking to trade Julius Randle. I don't think the Knicks are looking to trade Julius Randle, but post moratorium, if he's like, I'd rather see what my value is on the market next summer, that changes things, especially for a team that just went all in. And look, I tend to defend Julius more often than others. I'm part of that subset of the Knicks world that wants to remind people how good Julius Randle is and can be. I also saw this team look really good in the playoffs with DiVincenzo at the 2 and like Josh Hart at the 3, and now it's Mikal Bridges. Like, that's not afraid to shoot 3-pointers. So, I think the Knicks can be really good with Julius next year, but just from a financial standpoint, if he's not extending, then you become a little bit more expendable. If he extends, like, let's try to win something with you. Also, this new world of second apron and first apron trade hindrances, where if you have more money going out, you're capped at the first apron, but if you have more money coming in, then no, if you have less
Yeah,
money, you know what I'm
you
saying.
have
If you have
more money
more
coming in, you're capped at the
at
first
the
apron.
first apron, if you have more money going out, then you're capped at the second. So you almost kind of need Randall to extend because if you need to put him in a trade that doesn't cap you at the first apron, you need that number to be higher. If it like Karl Anthony Towns has been the name that's been thrown out there as a potential number, and him and Mitch, if he extends, is the way you get to the not be capped at the first apron. So I, from my understanding, I actually think he's going to sign an extension with the Knicks. I don't think necessarily what Brunson did changes it. I also wonder Randall might be wondering what his market is. Like, who's looking to sign to more than
Well,
what the Knicks might offer him. A guy like that has all the playoff questions that he has, and is now coming off a shoulder injury that ended his season. As he's entering into his 30s.
yeah, maybe this offseason ends up being a 1-year blip because teams are trying to figure out the realities of these new financial limitations. But I kind of just feel like Jared Allen just signed a panic extension to me because I think people look at $30 million a year basically for it's like I thought he was going to get more and take this to free agency, to be honest with you. But I think you're fine. I think maybe players are finding out that unless you are Paul George and you have that cachet of not just an all NBA player, but an all NBA player who fits anywhere with anyone, you might have a tougher market. And we're seeing it. Randall's not, he's an all NBA player twice over. That doesn't happen by mistake. But I also think he's kind of in the same boat of Brandon Ingram, where we're talking about talented players that if the Knicks do shop him, or if he does take this to free agency, I don't think his market's just going to be, there'll be teams just lining up to give Randall the max or more than the Knicks would offer. That would benefit the Knicks, I would think. But I'm also looking at it from the perspective of, does Randall have some semblance of leverage here because the Knicks decided to go all in on Mikal Bridges, where, okay, yes, he will never need to be your top option. But even him is like your second best offensive option. Or if you want to frame it as your second best shot creator, shot generator, that is still iffy territory to me. Just after watching him in Brooklyn, I think, is it possible? Sure. I was open to the idea that he might be a number one guy, but after watching him last season, I was just like, and through the playoffs that first year, I can't get there. And so if you're Julius Randle, you're still to me very clearly the second best self-starter on this team. Doesn't that kind of give him a form of leverage that, okay, the Knicks decided to go all in on this guy in Mikal Bridges, who doesn't usurp me in that department. And so when they don't necessarily have the assets to go out there and get someone who's going to be an upgrade over Mikal Bridges, let alone Julius Randle in that department, does that give him some leverage? Or let's not call it leverage. Is he more important to the Knicks than you would have expected following a trade in which they just gave up 5 first-round picks?
From a financial standpoint, so let me start here. Do playoff offensive and defensive ratings matter to you? Like, I know there's small sample sizes and you're only playing like 2 teams, but do they matter to you?
I cannot read into individual offensive and defensive ratings. So if it's like a Julius Randle offensive and defensive rating,
No,
it's
no,
I'll
no,
go.
it's a team. It's a team. The Knicks
You
this
have to play.
past year in the playoffs had the second best offensive rating without Julius Randle. The year before they had the second worst with Julius Randle.
I think it's fair to read into Julius Randle's struggles, but if you would put that team that the Knicks had this past playoff run around Julius Randle that year, does Julius Randle get better just because the floor is going to be a little bit more open with Dante DiVincenzo in New York?
It's why I'm highly interested in Julius Randle being on the team this year. I think they can have a top. I think they can. Like, I just go out and say it. I think the Knicks can win 60 games this year. Like, that's how good I think they could potentially be.
I would normally
55 is
say
even more.
there's no way, but Tom Thibodeau will coach to win 60 games if it's within 5.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. So with the fact that there's no games off, there's no load management days, I think that the Knicks are really good as is. I also saw that they can have a pretty good team without Julius Randle last year. Which is why, as far as leverage is concerned, I almost wonder if they're like, Julius, we have options at the 4 if we need to. You've been hesitant to play the 5. You can't play the 3. You can't really guard anybody. Like, the benefit to having you on our team is creating space and letting you bully ball with your gravity, and potentially losing Hartenstein sucks, but you can be the new hub that we run the offense through because we're putting 3 high volume 3-point shooters around you, so catch and shoot opportunities are aplenty. And then if Tibbs decides to play Anunoby or Julius with 4 shooter lineups, and like Anunoby's guarding your 5 and then is spacing the floor on the other end, then you have a chance to have a really special offense where he's averaging like 7 assists a game. So I almost wonder if he looks at it more from the Knicks perspective, or maybe he doesn't look at it from the Knicks perspective, but like the leverage actually lies with the Knicks because they're like, we're the best position for you to succeed right now. So you may want to go into the following offseason a free agent after that really good position to succeed. But who's going to be able to offer you the same environment that helped you succeed like we did here and is willing to give you the contract that we're willing to give you? So that's more where I look at it.
I have probably always been lower on Julius Randle than you, but I am even interested to see him with this team because I thought before he got injured, there could still be maddening Julius Randle moments. I think that's part of the Julius Randle experience. I thought he got a lot better at the accessory work on offense. Maybe not even better, but a lot more willing to do it. And so now in the context of this team that can open the floor even more around him and make life even easier on him, it feels like this could be the most optimal version of Julius Randle we see, in part because there's a question, you've already alluded to it, and I'm going to ask you it in a little bit, but I want to ask you this question first. You're running the Knicks, which you basically are. I mean, what's your familial tree relation to Leon Rose at this point?
That's CAA that just called me, by the
Yeah.
way. I'm part of that family, you know?
What is the number that you're comfortable extending Julius Randle at? If you want to frame it as per year or total over this many years, like what is the walkaway number where it's no, then you can take this to free agency or your player option, however you want to consider it.
I gotta be honest, like I've been thinking about this question. You want to talk about sticker shock? I've never really had a good sense of the value of what like is a good number in that sense.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm normally pretty good at this, but we did an over under podcast on per year contract values before free agency. I went back and just briefly looked and stopped because of how many we just completely whiffed on. Like I got to Simone Fontecchio and I had him getting more than the non-taxpayer MLE and he gets $8 million. So So I have like no feel for this either, if that makes you feel
Mm-hmm.
better.
It does. Listen, there's like one person I've ever met that has had a perfect feel for it, and it's Jeremy Cohen of Knicks Film School, our capologist. Man went on Fred Katz's pod last week and said, I think Precious is going to re-sign with the Knicks for $6 million. And what happens 24 hours later? Like, well, okay, that happened 2 days ago. So it actually would happen like 72 hours later. But guess what happened? Precious Achua re-signed with the Knicks for $6 million. So he's been able to assess that market better than I have. I would say that there's, as long as he extends off the current number, there's no real number that would make me walk away. Like I don't want him hitting free agency next off season, but if they went with like the version, 181 was the number that I had seen as far as a full contract extension, that I'd probably be fine with if he goes 4-1-181 off of this current deal, you know?
And you said if you had to make a prediction, you would expect him. He's extension eligible. I think it's you mentioned it, August 3rd.
August 3rd.
You would expect, maybe not on the day, but you would expect him to sign an extension before the season.
Yes. I think so. I've been wrong before, but I think this is headed toward a Julius extension.
I think I would agree with you, at least from the perspective of, I think extending is probably what's best for his career, because I do agree with you that I don't know that he's going to have the level of agency or opportunity anywhere else other than New York. But it's just, they're not building around him anymore, but they're still tailoring a chunk of their offense to what he can do.